This is the Cliff Yates Show. Personal growth, motivation, inspiration, and philosophies for a great life.
Yeah, I'm really honored today to have a great guest today. I'm really excited about this. He's a fellow retiree from the LA County Sheriff's Department. I'm a retired sergeant, but Ralph Ornelas, over 36 years, 36.7, I believe, years with the LA Sheriff's Department, numerous ranks, all the way up to commander. And let me tell you something, as you rise in the ranks, it's no easy task, and very competitive. And Ralph worked the streets, the jails, gang units, and after retirement, he went back into service as the chief of police for Westminster Police Department. I want to talk to him about that. And just unbelievable. Like myself, he wants to continue to serve, and I'm so excited that, wow, he's been going into high schools and he's been dealing with this fentanyl chaos that's been killing so many people in the U.S. And let's face it, if he's doing this, I'm sure he's saving lives. So, Ralph, I'm so honored that you're joining us. Ralph Ornelas, thank you, brother.
Hey, Cliff, I'm honored also to be with you on Cliff Yates Show. And I want to say this to the audience that's watching. I love your message yesterday about health.
Thank you.
And Cliff, you talked about sugar, exercise, weightlifting, and just the right state of mind. So I really, I hand it to you to be able to get that message out because, as retirees, I've been retired since 2016 from the sheriffs and 2019 from Westminster. I really believe that, health, to be able to extend our life. And I think a lot of it has to do with Cliff when I was at the academy. We could talk about that later. But
Yeah.
at the academy, I always teach the recruits, keep in shape throughout your career because it's an insurance policy. But
Right.
that's thanks to the message yesterday, Cliff. I really appreciate it.
You know what? Thanks for saying that, because sometimes I think, well, maybe this is falling on deaf ears and it doesn't really do any good. So you know what? You really made my day today to say that, because I was having some doubts, as maybe we all do. But is that the right message? I don't know if anybody really wants to hear it. So thank you for saying that.
You got it. You got it, Cliff. And anyway, I'm all yours. Whatever direction you want to go in, I'm pretty good on my balls and my feet.
Yeah, you certainly are. As a matter of fact, and you know what? I guess the only time I ran into you that I remember, I think you were coming in to be I believe, the captain at maybe CJ, and we passed in the hallways or something. But I always remembered. I thought, what a positive energy you had. And then I saw some newscasters say that you had contagious optimism, and I thought, wow, that's probably, then I was reading him right. And so, how do you maintain your optimism at the same time fighting the chaos and the evil that you're fighting yourself right now?
I don't know about chaos and evil. I think we could go in different directions on that, but I'll take up the first part. Thank you for your comment about optimism. Cliff, I wasn't placed into men's central jail in the most palatable way. I did almost 2.5 years as Captain Narcotics, and I think I did a fine job of that. And on one day notice on March 25th, 2011, it's amazing that I remember that date, Cliff, right?
Yeah.
I get a phone call from a person, I'm not going to mention his name, is despicable. Said I had to move all my stuff out of my office right away, and starting this following Sunday, which was the 27th of March, that I was being transferred to Men's Central Jail. I notified my wife of that. She broke down and cried. But I talked to my mentor and my hero, my uncle Gabe Ornelas, Gabriel Eduardo Ornelas, right? My dad's younger brother, who left the NYPD and went to LAPD. I called him up right away. And my uncle was a Marine, Cliff. And my uncle Gabe said, Ralphie, this is the time to show your character, strength, and dignity, and also your love for the organization. He said, I don't want to hear you with your head between your legs. You better have your shoes shined and your Class B uniform. And my uncle knew all the certain uniform appearance with the Men's Central Jail.
Yeah.
The Class B uniform better be creased and looking sharp. And Cliff, I took that to heart. And I walked through that jail, that main security, the main central jail there. What do you call it again? I forget what you call it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh my God. The main gate, I guess. The main gate. Yeah.
Yeah, the main control. Main control.
Main control. That's
main
right. Yeah.
control. Having a senior moment. But I walked in there, my uncle, I had my head high, shaking everybody's hand, as you said, smiling.
Yeah,
And I wanted to do that because I think character means everything, Cliff.
it does. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the other part about it, you mentioned evil that I present on for the last 2 years is the devil is the poison of fentanyl. And I got to tell you, Cliff, I really truly love engaging our youth, like in my cousin Vinny
That's
Utes,
great. Yeah. Utes.
but
Yeah. Utes.
the
Yeah.
youth, but the youth, and they mean a lot to me, Cliff. And I've been to almost 10 schools and 2,000 students, and I got to tell you, it really touches my heart. And sometimes you don't think that you're touching people, but you are. And I'll give you an
Yeah.
example. I was brought to this one school. It's in Costa Mesa called Back Bay High School. 99.9% Latinos. Okay. So Miss Hickory is from Scotland. She got this beautiful
Oh man.
Scottish accent. I love it. And so she doesn't really know my background, but she goes, all the Latinos. I go, yeah, don't worry about it. I'm okay. I don't know, maybe potential gang members. I go, don't worry about it. So anyway, the first class, I had only five young ladies because most of the guys and girls later on the next 5 classes I teach come late. So this one young lady, I'll never forget her first name. I won't say her last name, Emily. So I give my little background. I started standing up. I sat across the table with these five girls, and I said, I worked in Central America, El Salvador, Guatemala, Costa Rica. So she looks at me. She goes, El Salvador. Now she's testing me, Cliff.
Yeah.
She goes, what's the name of the airport? I said, Aeropuerto Cuscatlán. She looks at me. Okay. The next question was, what does it say on the archway when you walk through to come into the airport? When you get after tarmac, you walk into it. I said, it says, Mi país muy pequeño, pero muy orgulloso, which means my country's small but proud. The
Wow.
reason I say that, Cliff, I went on with my presentation. At the end of the presentation in that first class, she came over to me and she had tears in her eyes. And this is the part that always touches me, Cliff, and it means a lot to me.
Yeah.
She said, last week I almost died of fentanyl poisoning. And I'm like, and the teacher was standing there. I never talked to young ladies alone. So I
Yeah.
told the teacher, hold on. And I got choked up. And she said, my friend had Narcan, sprayed it in my nose and reversed it and saved my life. And Cliff, those are the moments I think all of us strive for, that we touch the heart of somebody
Yeah. Yeah.
to give you that
That's
insight.
right. Yeah.
So you talk about what your initial introduction, the way I was put into mental jail, then now the devil of dealing with the cartels
Yeah.
and what they're pushing out into our streets of our country. And I mentioned it in one of the videos I put out on LinkedIn, Cliff. We've lost over 152,000 youth in our country from ages 10 to 35. In 2019 to 2021, it increased from ages 10 to 18, 182%, Cliff. And Cliff, if you look at the number of soldiers we lost in Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan, doesn't equate to that. And why isn't our leadership up in arms about this?
Yeah, let me ask you because, and I actually had to stop reading about this because I'm reading a book. It's called, I think it's Unrestricted Warfare, and it was telling how China is bringing all this fentanyl in, and I guess they control some of the ports there in South America or Mexico, and they bring it in there. And I think what I heard was, and you speak on that some of the cartels they didn't even want to. It was so dangerous they didn't even want to touch it. They let China like handle it, and then they bring it in and let China produce it. Or is there any truth to that? Or
Well, this is what's taken place, Cliff, through my career and people I know. The Chinese are bringing the precursors in
yeah,
to two ports on the west coast of Mexico. The Manzanillo port,
I heard about that. Yeah,
which is in the state of Colima, and then the Lazaro Cordero port, which is south of that, in the state of Michoacan. And the north port, Manzanillo, is run by the Sinaloa cartel. The south port of Lázaro Cordero port is run by the Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación, which means the new generation cartel. Those are the two prominent cartels that are getting the precursor from Chinese.
Yeah.
They bring it to these clandestine laboratories underground in homes. In fact, there's a deputy, I'm not going to mention his name. His family at a Michoacan was run out of their farm. All right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you off his name. Great guy. A great guy. The cartels ran his whole family off the farm. They're using those farms now to manufacture the powder, and they have stamping machines that stamp it look like exactly like Oxy, Adderall, Xanax, Viagra. I mean,
yeah,
you name it. All those pills that you can purchase on the social dark web advertising, Snapchat, dark web. And guess what?
It's very cheap, I heard, right? Because they're trying to infiltrate these machines all over, right?
Well, they are now. What's happening, Cliff, 75% of the precursors and also the powder or the pills, 75% is going from those areas I just told you, Michoacan and Colima, to 75% coming through California.
Wow.
Now you say, why is it California?
Yeah. Why?
Why? Because I don't believe this governor, and again, we get to politics, this governor doesn't have the huevos, the ganas, the strength to really support like what Abbott did in Texas to strengthen the border.
Yeah. Is there any connection now? Because it was kind of weird, right? That, but he hosts the head of China in San Francisco and cleans up the streets, and why it's so welcoming to him, and then all that poison's coming from his country, really.
I don't think those meetings had anything to do with that.
They're not related. Yeah,
they're not related. I believe this. First of all, let's put this on the line, Chris.
Yeah,
Cliff. The counter narcotics enforcement is non-existent the last 4 years.
Right, I believe it. Yeah,
Mexico has really not been playing with us very well.
No.
So there's a gentleman that on LinkedIn we communicate every once in a while. I love this guy. He's from SOD, from DEA, Special Operations Division, Derek Maltz. Him and I are in agreement, and I spoke on this even, I think it might have been with you or John Sullivan on Pat Jordan's podcast. I believe we should create or resurrect the Foreign Terrorist Act.
Yeah.
Like we did in Pablo Escobar, where we use all our military, DEA, FBI, all our resources to counterattack the cartels that are infiltrated throughout all the cities, mostly 66 cities in the United States right now, Cliff.
Yeah.
So we need to enforce that because we got to get the attention of these cartels that we really mean business. And I pray to God. I know we're stepping into different arenas here, but we have to.
We have to.
This topic kind of transcends this. So President Trump, I believe, is already putting in the right things in place.
I do too.
And I believe that he's going to look very seriously if this president of Mexico, Steinbaum, I think her name is, if she doesn't cooperate in playing nice with us and really putting a dent in this, because we can't have our youth, a future of our country, losing our youth. I mean, I'm 67. You're 67, I think.
Yes,
right?
I am. Yeah, you're right.
Okay. Well, we're in the back nine of our life. I'm playing golf right now, right?
We're in the back nine. Yeah.
We're in the back nine. All right. But I don't even have grandchildren, right? But I have two young adults.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about your grandchildren, my friends' grandchildren.
Yeah.
The future of this, we have to take a more strong stance on this and be emphatic that we're not going to tolerate this anymore.
Right. Yeah. It sounds like Trump's already leading before he gets into office. These people are coming to him now. Isn't that amazing? You know what I mean? It's like, hey, wait a minute. We'll meet with you.
What does that say to you? What is
leadership, right?
There you go.
Without the title, leadership. I know you always taught that. We don't need the title to lead, right, Ralph? You get me fired up right now.
We don't need a title to lead.
That's right.
When I was at the academy, I used to tell when I was a staff instructor, I won't say drill instructor, I'll say staff instructor.
Yeah.
And then I became a sergeant later on. I used to say every one of you has to be a leader in that patrol car, in that jail. You have to have the inner strength to step up and make the tough decisions during tough times.
Yes. Yeah, that's one job I wish I had done. I really wanted to do that. I treat myself as I'm still in the academy today. And it was funny because I think I could go back in right now. I hate to see, I don't know. That's one of the, I'm going off on a tangent. But one of the reforms,
go.
One of the reforms I'd like to see is that, man, I just think we should be tested throughout our career as far as fitness. And, if you're not up to scale, you got a time period to get within line, or we're going to let you go because we just can't have a standard when you graduate and then we never test it again.
It's funny you say that. So, when I came on the job in 79,
wow. Yeah.
So right after that, there was a gentleman, I can't remember his name. When you came on the job, Cliff, you went to the whole administration and got the medical?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Okay. There was a gentleman, and I used to see him all the 10Ks later on. Really nice guy. I wish I remember his name. I'm sorry, I can't. I used to take it from 79 to 85, Cliff. I would go every year for full medical for free.
Wow.
And they would put us on the bicycle and clip your nose, check your oxygen intake.
Yeah.
And stuff. Cliff, it was a great gauge. So you know what happened though, Cliff? Somebody filed a lawsuit. Again, always a lawsuit, right? They thought it was unfair that they were trying to advocate for health. This individual, whoever that individual was, filed a lawsuit. They did away with that.
I just can't. Yeah, I don't know. Oh my goodness, that's kind of my main thing. Like what? My mom's 80. Oh, now she's 89, and she started
God bless her.
Yeah, she started. I guess through Alba and I, she was watching us at our summer place, and then she started walking on the treadmill, and she said I inspired her to start, doing all sorts of exercises, and now, and thankfully she still has the basement where she goes up and down 10 times a day for laundry. And so she's driving, exercising, and walking on the treadmill 4 days a week. And all these people are, oh, your mom's still driving? Still driving? She can actually do a plank for a minute and a half. She did it here come on.
Well, you got great genes, but I got to tell you, I really believe in some notes I took about the academy. I was for this preparation of this podcast interview. When I was there 5 years as
wow.
As a
that's
staff
quite a long
instructor.
time to be there.
Well, they had the lawsuit of Sue Bowen Perez. You remember that?
Oh, of course, because I ended up going to equity training and teaching the policy. Yeah.
so anyway, that extended a lot of us staff instructors to stay there longer because we figured we put so much time in. We wanted a benefit for the AP there. We transferred, we would be at the bottom of the barrel, right?
That's right. So, to get promoted, it would hurt you actually to go somewhere else.
So anyway, and that's terrible. There's another leadership.
Yeah.
There's another leadership topic. Okay.
Yeah.
But the point I'm getting at is when I was there at the academy, I always, Cliff, advocated for the executives. The executives would call me in. I was like, whoever the undersheriff was, Jerry Harper.
Jerry, yeah.
Paul Myron.
Yes.
They said, hey, Ralph, why don't we got a 28% attrition rate in the academy? And I was the one that was selected to go and speak with my sergeant all the time because I was more vocal.
Yeah.
If you want to say, okay.
Yeah.
So, and I would say, but I have my statistics. I said, listen, undersheriff of both of them. I was saying, these recruits realize they fail to prepare.
Right. Yeah.
And so one of the things we had the pre-academy, I would always be there speaking, say, if you fail to prepare to fail. So if you come in good shape, that's one element you don't have to worry about the academy.
Yeah, that's right.
That to me, like when I came on, that was my relaxation time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right?
Clear the mind out, right? But the problem is we did away with that. Every year went by, a different captain came in and would take away certain things and stuff. And we lowered our standard. They don't do the Sheriff's 500 test anymore. They have the post test, which is, pretty. I think I could still pass the post test right now.
I do
But
too. I could too. Yeah.
but the point is, Cliff, we're not instilling the right state of mind
Yeah.
about being disciplined.
I know it. Yes. Oh my God. Yeah.
So one of the things I always used to say is, would you rather, how do I say this? Would you rather feel the pain of discipline or the pain of disappointment?
Yeah. That's great. Yes. Yeah. I know it. That's great. Yeah. There was a, God, Jim Rohn, one of those guys, business guys. He said, "You're either going to pay the price, the pain of discipline, or the pain of regret. One weighs ounces and one weighs tons, something like that." But yeah, it's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
true. Yeah,
yeah. But
yeah,
so I see the academy right now, and it's not only the Sheriff's Academy, the department I love immensely.
love it. Yeah,
It's LAPD. It's around the nation.
yeah.
In fact, even when in 2006, I mean, I worked on and off in El Salvador for about 7, 8 years.
Wow,
So
awesome.
I would go down. I would take two investigators from LAPD, gang investigators, and two from LA County Sheriffs, and we would go down there and we would task to look at all the different areas. And because my resume was a lot the academy, patrol, and gangs, so they had me look at it was an international academy, and one of the things I would look at is their implementation of the curriculum in the academy. And I got to give them some kudos of that. Academically, they brought international professors from Spain. They brought
Wow.
people in from Mexico. They brought in, from France. I mean, they brought in people from Canada,
Yeah,
to really try to give a well-rounded, But one of the things I think they still could have done a better job was the PT program.
yeah.
And I could say this, there were times, and myself, in the first class I did, I think I was over the top a little bit. I think it was my learning lesson.
Yeah.
And it was a great guy. I'll mention his name because I've none but the utmost respect. He really did a good job. Was Robert Binkley, Bob Binkley. Do you
Bob
remember Bob
Binkley.
Binkley?
Yeah, I know Bob. Yeah.
Yeah, Bob did a great job into corralling the energy, excitement, enthusiasm of the DIs and how to really direct it to really be a mentor and a teacher too.
Yeah, yeah,
You can still be that drill instructor on the grinder,
yeah.
but when you're one on one or you're in the classroom, be that effective mentor, teacher, and giving the right information for these recruits to be successful through their career.
That's right. Yeah, and the PT guy when I was there, was he still around with you? There was Gene Reed. You remember Gene Reed?
Oh, I love Gene Reed.
God, that guy
Now
was an
what
inspiration.
year did you come on? What year did you come on?
83.
Okay, so I came on and said Gene Reed was a physical specimen.
I loved him. Yeah, what an
Me too.
inspiration.
What a great guy. And being the only out of stater and New Yorker in my class 197.
Wow.
I mean, I it was here we go again, the learning lessons in life. I learned a lot what not to be as a staff instructor. They selected they went after me like sharks, all right? And not my DI, but the other three DIs.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I don't know if they didn't like I had a very much more pronounced Brooklyn accent at
yeah.
that time.
You
Okay.
stood out, and they lock out, they lock on
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Plus I was short and bald, So anyway, I was clean the garbage pails and all that stuff, but what it taught me though was if I ever became a DI, I would never do that. If
Right.
somebody's
Okay.
going to be deselected, Cliff,
Yeah.
let them get deselected on their own,
Oh,
and
yeah.
on their own misconduct, lack of astuteness or lack of performance, failure of shooting, failure academics, failure whatever the critical role playing scenarios or the preliminary role playing. Let them fail on their own, but
Right.
never create it. And
Yes.
it goes back to leadership again.
Yeah.
Everything circles back to leadership,
That's
Cliff.
right. Yeah, well, I had some great. Do you remember? I don't know, because I always like the hardcore people, right? Like Lance Harper. Do you remember Lance? Lance Harper's just like,
I remember Lance Harper.
I just wanted to be like that guy, right? Marilyn Baker was awesome too, man. She was,
Marilyn Baker, God rest his soul. We worked
yeah.
Carson Station Patrol,
God, I loved her,
and
man.
her and her partner Booker, Ernie Booker.
Yeah, Ernie Booker. Yeah.
Ernie Booker, great guy, great. Both of them. They were on a surveillance in a condo of this rapist, and the rapist came in there, tracked Marilyn, and they got in a dragged out fight. And
Oh my
Marilyn
God.
Booker's yelling to her, "Shoot! I'm losing!" And she took her 2-inch, put it right to his chest, and pat, pat. I got to tell you,
God.
Marilyn was a really, really good lady.
Oh, but lion-hearted. Yeah, she's awesome. My God, yeah, she was awesome and so kind too, right? That those to have those within your heart, right? The ability to be in battle and do what need to be done, but yet have a kind soul and be compassionate, and empathetic. To have those things together, yeah, that's just the ultimate. Yeah.
So, anyway, I'm not sure what other topics you want to speak about, but
One more guy I want to bring up
go
that he spoke and I was like, Lieutenant Mike McAndrews. Do you remember him?
can I tell you a story about Mike?
Please, I love him. Loved him. He
So
passed. Rest his soul. Yeah.
I love that Irishman.
Yeah.
So here I am, 1980. I'm in Men's Central Jail, and I see Lieutenant McAndrews coming through main control. I go, "Sir, Lieutenant McAndrews, can I speak to you?" He goes, "Ornelas, get over here. Step aside." So I go, "Sir, this is my last day." He goes, "What do you mean your last day?" I go, I lateraled over to Torrance PD. He goes, "What?" He goes, "Are you stupid?" So, now I'm perplexed. What do I say to this lieutenant?
I know it. Yeah.
I can't respond to him. Well, anyway, he puts his arm around me. He goes, "Listen, Ornelas." He didn't know my first name then. "Listen, if you ever need me, you get a hold of me." He goes,
Wow.
I think you're going to have a tough time there.
Wow.
So here, I'll give you this story. We got some time, right?
Yeah, we got all. Yeah, go ahead.
So anyway, I go over to Torrance. In my first briefing, there was some disparaging verbiage on the blackboard. Okay, you hear me saying blackboard?
Yeah.
They don't say blackboard anymore.
No.
About my ethnicity. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Wow.
So
Disappointing.
so I don't give a shit, man.
I know, but still,
You can do anything you want, but just don't punch me, okay?
yeah.
So anyway, I go 8 months to Torrance, and it was hell.
You did go to Torrance. I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, I go to Torrance. It was hell. And my last shift, I rotated back to my first FTO. And I won't mention his name. It's not worth it.
No.
And he did something to me that he shouldn't have. And I said, I went Brooklyn. I said,
I went New York on him.
I said, fudge you. And you know what I mean by that, right?
Yeah.
So I ran up to the watch commander's office. I remember the lieutenant's name, and I put my badge up and go, "I'm done with this crap." And I leave.
Yeah.
I call my uncle up. We meet at the Melting Pot in Manhattan Beach. We're brainstorming. I'm taking notes. So I go home, and I said, I got to go for a run. I got to clear my head. And at that time, my wife and I were living in Hermosa Beach over Pier Avenue, and I'm running along the railroad tracks. There's a Lord above, Cliff.
Yes.
Who do I run into? Lieutenant McAndrews.
Not by accident.
So he sees me, he goes, "Ornelas, how you doing?" and stuff. I'm not ashamed to say this. As soon as he said that, Cliff, I had tears rolling down my face.
Yeah. Oh,
and I remember I'm 24 years old. And he goes, whoa, what's going on? So I tell him, he goes, "Come on, let's run to my house." Well, 1980, 81, 80, we don't have cell phones, right?
No.
So we run to his house. He goes, "Give me your home phone number." I get his home phone number. I give him my home phone number. He goes, "I'm going to call you at 6 p.m. tonight." I go, "Relax. I got your back." And I'm like, "Really?" At 6 p.m., he calls me up, Cliff, and he tells me, "You got an appointment tomorrow with the interim sheriff," because Pitches was on his way out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interim sheriff, Sherm Block. I go, "What?" He goes, "You got a suit?" I know how to dress, man. I'm from New York. I put my ironed up. I got there 2 hours early. I'm sitting outside his office 2 hours early, and the aide goes, "Your appointment's at 3:00." I go, "I don't care.
Yeah.
I'll sit here as long as you want me to sit here."
Good.
All of a sudden, here comes 3:00. Opens the door, and Sherm greets me. He goes, "Hey, Ornelas, come on and sit down." And I got my notebook with me, right? I got a steno pad like this, like my uncle gave me, right? All my notes. He goes, "Put that away." He goes, "Talk to me.
Wow. That's
Tell me a
great.
story." I go off about 10 minutes. I tell him a story. He goes, "I got enough." He goes, "What was your employee number?" I said, 160138. He calls personnel up. He goes, "Hey, pull the file of Ralph Gabriel Ornelas, 160138. I want to hire him back today."
Oh my God.
Now, that was Mike McAndrews doing that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So here I am. I just left Westminster PD, right? March 20th, 2019. I get a phone call from his wife, Diane, but they call her Deese.
Yeah.
She gets on the phone with me. She goes, "Ralphie, how you doing?" Because me and Mike always communicated
Yeah.
all through my career.
Jeez.
And so anyway, she calls me up. She says, "Ralphie, Mike just died." And I got choked up. I'm getting choked up now. And I said, "Deese, I'm going to fly out. I want to be at his funeral in Connecticut." So this was really great, though. After the church ceremony, we went to the country club. There's probably 300 people in this country club, in this auditorium. The only four speakers that spoke were Judge Arnold, who Mike mentored to become an attorney,
Yeah.
Dave Stothers,
Yep, Dave.
Dennis Slocum, and then the short bull-headed guy, me.
You. Oh my God.
We had the whole audience in stitches, tears. I told them the story about me and Mike and I, times we ran together marathons and stuff. And, so when you bring Mike McAndrews, he was a true leader.
Yeah. What happened? He was in good shape. What happened? Do you know?
There was a falling out someplace with somebody up above him, because my vision of him, Cliff, he should have been the sheriff.
Right. Yeah.
Something happened somewhere politically.
Yeah.
But I think that if you got your time is up, is almost
No,
up.
no. You're. It's only your limit that I'm. We're gonna keep going.
So Mike was a great mentor to me, even when I made lieutenant, captain, commander, and then chief.
Yeah.
And he was always there. In fact, when I got relieved of duty as being the Westminster chief, which I never been relieved of duty before, right?
Oh my
and,
God.
And Mike sent me an email. I still save it. He says, "Ralphie, never let them see you sweat and keep on smiling."
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that.
What'd you get relieved for? That's crazy.
Well, what it was, Cliff, when you're a chief and you tell people not that you're not going to promote them or just one individual, but I said, I want to give you some other commands to get more of a well-rounded, like they did to me.
Right. Yeah.
Like Sammy Jones did to me and stuff. This person could not handle that commentary.
Yeah.
And then also, I had 3 IIAs on 3 different officers that were righteous and stuff. He corralled this whole thing, and when you're a chief, and you're at will. So when these lawsuits came up, I said, I'm just retiring. It's not worth it anymore. It's a tough thing when you're on top.
Yeah, it is. I imagine. Yeah, Mike. He came down to Linwood to get fingerprinted for his bar exam or for his lawyer
Yep.
thing. And of course, I had him when I heard him at the academy. He was like, "That's Lieutenant Mike Andrews." And so when he came down, he was so humble and like, "Oh, do you mind if you're Lieutenant McAndrews? Whatever you need, we'll do." He goes, "Oh no, I'm just here to be fingerprinted." He's so humble, and it's like, wow.
What a great man, Cliff.
Yeah.
Cliff, him and a guy by the name of Bob Smithson from LAPD, they did something in the mid '70s, which was frowned upon. They looked at shootings of both departments and they dissected them.
Yeah.
They were the first ones, the Monday night quarterback shootings.
Wow.
And Mike took that.
Mike was in a lot of shootings.
No, Mike wasn't in a lot of shootings. Mike evaluated a lot of shootings, just like Bob Smithson did, on behalf of both members of LAPD and LA County Sheriffs. And he would use these shootings from other agencies or LA County Sheriff shootings or LAPD, and he would put on
Oh yeah.
symposiums or
Yeah.
lectures on. Okay,
I saw a
but
video of one of his. Yeah.
every component was about officer survival, Cliff,
Yeah.
about surviving.
Surviving.
And
Yeah.
I remembered it so much when I went through the academy. He came and it was like, I mean, I was like ready at the edge of my seat,
Me too.
ready to do the
Walk through a
job.
wall. I wanted to
Yeah,
walk through a wall after he left, man. Yeah.
just a great man, just a
Yeah.
great man,
Yeah, he
great
was
man.
he was unbelievable. I want to go to this. So I didn't know. So you grew up in New York? Was it in the city?
I grew up the first 10 years of my life in Greenpoint, Brooklyn.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
559 Morgan Avenue in Brooklyn. And then my parents, not that they had much money at all. In fact, when I was 10 years old, 8 years old, I used to shine shoes outside a bar at the corner of Driggs and Morgan Avenue.
Wow. And
Yeah, and
your dad, Raphael, was NYPD?
Lafayette, well, that's a story behind that. I'll tell you. So my dad was in Korea, lost his right
God
lung.
bless him. Oh my God.
A guy by the name of Willie Johnson and Matt Murphy saved his life. They both attended my dad's funeral in October. My dad died on October 20th. November 1st, the second was the funeral. They both were there at the Catholic Church. I spoke about them. And it's funny, interesting. My dad was wounded on October 28th, 1952. The Lord God took him October 28th, 2000.
Wow.
I mean,
Jeez.
so my dad was one of the first Latinos to join NYPD.
Wow.
They ran him off,
Ah,
and so he would have been a great cop. He had great instincts, and that's why he influenced his younger brother Gabriel to go west.
gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
And then Gabriel brainwashed me. But my dad was 6 foot. My uncle Gabriel was 6 foot. But unfortunately, I took after my little Italian mother was barely 5 foot. So I'm only 5'6". So
What
you want to
the?
hear? So here I
Oh,
am. Here I am. I wanted to be part of the LAPD. I was too
yeah.
short.
What? Oh my
They
God.
wouldn't hire me.
Do you know, I always wanted to be in the NYPD. I don't know if I told that story with Pat Jordan or not. So that was I was a cop in upstate New York and rural upstate, and I always wanted to go to the city.
I
And
didn't know
so,
that.
yeah, so then in 1983, was it 83? Yeah, 83. I went down and took the test at Norman Thomas High School on Lexington Avenue. And me, my mom, and my aunt went down. That was before Rudy had cleaned anything up, right? So, but I loved the energy. I was so excited, man. I took the test. But you know what? Before I even got my results, I was already hired with the LA County Sheriff's Department. By the time I got so then, and I loved Manhattan. So then I was in the jail and I was getting disgruntled because I was in the jail, right, for 3 years. And so then I got notification. We're on band 3 now. If you want to put your name back on the list, you can. I go, that's what I'm doing. So I flew back to New York, and I couldn't get a hotel for under $500 or something a night. So I slept in like Newark Airport, and then I show
Oh
up at
my
the
God.
NYPD Academy, and this detective's like, what do you want to come here for? This is the asshole of the world. Stay in LA. But, I'll test you if you want, but you're making a bullshit move, and I was so tired. I go, you know what? I think I'll stay then. But, and I say, by the hand of God, because I would have wanted to work Manhattan. I probably would have got killed at 9/11. So thank the Lord. That's another, he saved me about 20 times, but yes,
And
that's my,
I didn't know that. That's some.
yeah.
Well, I did look at your review of the United Health.
Oh yeah, that's our timeshare right there at the Hilton.
Yeah, I know,
66.
I watched the whole thing.
Thank you.
One of the
Yeah.
things I wanted to tell you is my nephew on the Italian side, Anthony Ovino.
Yeah.
He was a detective. Now he became crime scene investigation person. He was on the case.
Oh
He was,
really? Oh my
yeah,
God.
he was on the case. Yeah, and he called me up a few days ago. He said, Uncle Ralph, you can't share anything. I go, I promise I won't share anything. But
Yeah, yeah.
they got the guy. His name is Luigi Mangione.
I saw that today. Yeah.
Yeah, they got. Well, I think that's the guy. They did a good job.
Oh
They
yeah,
did a
that's
good,
the guy. I just wish they would say that's the guy instead of saying it's a
they
person of
have to.
interest. I
They
know,
have,
but it's to me
they
it's
have
like,
to. They have to. But I gotta tell you, it's really interesting, Cliff.
yeah.
I thought about joining NYPD, but because of my dad, the bad taste in his mouth,
Yeah.
and so I went west. I think it was a great, it
It
was a
was the
great move.
greatest, and Ralph, my sheriff in upstate New York, because I applied to LAPD and they go, unless you've got military, or you're not gonna, you need to score of 110. And so, and then LA sheriff, I was reading police product news and it was like, ride the strip, we pay the gas, call 188 LASD, So I'm applying there, Houston. I want to go to a big agency and I took the NYPD test. But anyways, my sheriff goes, you're applying to LA sheriff? He goes, I guess he had been out there when either Pitches or Black Health, they hosted the Major Cities Chief Conference or whatever it
Yeah,
was.
yeah, yeah.
And so he goes, that's the best department in the country. I'll give you the time off the test. And if you want to come back, you can always come back here. And so oh, okay. So he said that was the best in the country. And so that's how I ended. But anyways, thank God for the process for out of staters was so, man, they had it down, man. I got everything
Yeah.
done in like 4 days. And then I came back and took the poly and then I was in.
Same thing here. Same thing here. I flew out. I stayed with my uncle in Manhattan Beach, and
I stayed with my uncle in Santa Monica.
yeah, and in 4 days it was over. And my uncle said, "Listen, Ralph," he goes, it is before he found out that LAPD wouldn't hire me because I was too short. He goes, "Listen, whatever age LAPD, LA County Sheriffs," he said, "the sheriffs are a great organization.
Yes.
They got the bulldogs, the homicide. They have ESD, emergency service. They
Yeah.
have SEB. Now, my uncle Gabriel, he was one of the original members of the SWAT team
Oh
because
my
he was a
God.
Marine. Because he was a Marine.
Yeah.
If you ever go to, if you ever come to LAPD's Metro unit, they got a plaque and his name Gabriel E. Ornelas.
Oh,
He was one
okay.
of the original members of the original SWAT team. Yeah, and so.
Wow.
Yeah, he had a great career, my uncle, and yeah, I gotta be honest with you, Cliff. I'm glad I was with the sheriff because I made my own path.
That's right. Yeah. I am so happy too. It's just it's kind of disappointing when I hear, or not really disappointing, but and sometimes on the news they'll come up with all these reform ideas. I'm thinking we did that 25 years ago. We were doing this. We had mental health people riding with us 30 years ago. We were doing these things. We had cultural diversity. We were doing all sorts of inroads to civilian academy and all these ideas they come up with. We were doing those things 30 years ago, right?
Well, our policies, what I see around the country about shootings and stuff, and I
Yeah.
sat as a commander, I sat on the executive force review, which means any significant use of force or shootings. I was part of one of the three commanders reviewing some of them. And
Yeah.
I got to tell you, we were policy wise, we were light years ahead of most departments around the country. I mean,
Unbelievable. Yeah.
besides LAPD, San Diego, San Jose was very innovative. But San Jose, they became innovative because a guy named Joe McNamara, he was a inspector
Yeah.
for NYPD. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't know, and I couldn't figure out why San Jose became this elite because it turns out they were a small department, right?
He did a fabulous job. I just ran into somebody from San Jose, and he was amazed that I knew that. But I used to read all this police chief magazines. But I gotta be honest with you. I gotta give my uncle kudos to that because my uncle got me subscription to all the
Oh,
police magazine,
wow.
police chief magazine. He even subscribed because he went to the FBI Academy. I would get the FBI magazines all the time and read all this stuff, and so it always gave me things to think about.
Yeah. That's right.
Force, community policing, tactics, in that sense. So I would really, I got a hand to my uncle. He passed on now. He died in
Yeah.
January 2017. God
Wow.
rest his soul. But that's what's great part about certain mentors you have and stuff
Yes.
in the organization, and I feel blessed.
Yeah, me too. I had so many people that looked out for me, and
Who are some of the people that you interacted with, Cliff?
like one of the best ones. I wouldn't have never got promoted without Linda Castro. I mean, she became an advocate for me. You got to have somebody in the room fighting for you.
Yep.
She actually called me from the meeting. Cliff, do you have college? Do you have this? They're trying to take you off the board. I'm fighting for you right now. What? Oh, I need like 2 more classes. I'm finishing. Okay. I'm going back in. You got to have an advocate, man. So yeah. So she was behind me all the way. luckily I learned eventually how important relationships were, and that's just, everybody. And, when I got that secret, it was like, what? This is like, I remember a guy, a fantastic guy in West Hollywood, master's degree, this and that. He deserved any job. He had all the credentials. And I remember coming up to Universal and talking to him, and I was saying, oh, yeah, I was talking to the captain about this. The captain, I've been here 4 years. I never talked to captain once. I go, that's the problem. You got to stop in, say hello, even when you don't want anything. If you're just a name on a piece of paper, people like to help people they know personally, right? So,
Well, it's so funny you mentioned Linda, because when I did 6.5 years patrol as a sergeant at Lakewood, and then I got Doyle Campbell goes, "Hey Ralph, I'd like to bring you to recruitment." I go,
I love
recruitment.
Doyle. Oh man, I
Yeah.
loved him.
So
Yeah.
I went to recruitment because I want you to straighten it out. So I did, but I was working with Linda too because she was working backgrounds on that
Yeah.
section, and we worked together. And she was a wonderful lady,
Wonderful.
wonderful lady.
Yeah.
And so was Rick Castro
Rick,
too.
he took care of me too. He saved me a couple times.
Yep, good
Yeah.
man, good man. I was a DI at the academy, and he was a lieutenant at the academy working for, I forget, it was Pettis. It was a
Yeah,
captain,
Pettis.
and
Yeah.
he didn't. Rick was always Johnny on the spot. But you mentioned something about, I have to think about leadership. Here we go on
Yeah.
leadership.
I love it.
This book right here I have. I love this book. I read through it. It was my
Oh, that's one
Lincoln
I
on
don't
leadership.
have. Lincoln
Lincoln
on
on
Leadership.
leadership.
God,
Do you
that's
know
one I don't.
this book, Cliff? My uncle
Okay.
gave me when I got moved from a narco to Men's Central Jail, and this was my Bible. Okay,
What? I'm going to get that today.
yeah, that was my Bible. And so one of the things Lincoln always said is you lead by roaming and walking around.
Yeah.
So the manner I was put into Men's Central Jail, my uncle told me, you got to prove what kind of character you have. I would get there at 5:30 in the morning. I walked every floor in that jail.
Yeah.
And I would introduce myself to the nurses, the deputies, Department of Mental Health, priests, the rabbis, everybody. And
Yeah.
I would talk to every inmate. I would walk up and down the rows of the old side stuff, the new side.
Yeah.
And I know something? You know what? I don't know if you know this. I used to hold town hall meetings. I don't
No.
know. Okay. So I used to hold town hall meetings, whatever, in the day rooms, in the cafeterias they didn't use anymore. And I would tell my lieutenants and sergeants, I want you to bring 100, 150, or 50, it doesn't matter. And I would talk to them. And I hear the gripes. I had somebody, Gina Perez was my admin deputy. I tell her, take down notes and stuff, and I would address these issues. But what I did, I noticed, I created, the force went down.
Ah.
And you know why? Because, and I remember something. When I got put in there, the United States Attorney's Office, the ACLU, were all after us
Oh
because of
man.
force. There was 190 ACLU declarations against about force, about our deputies.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to lead from the front.
Yeah.
I used to walk all around, talk to the inmates, and when I used to hold these town hall meetings, address some of their issues, I noticed force started going down, and things were getting better. So when I was talking to them, they asked me a question. I respond to them. I would joke around. I go, Gabish. So Gabish in Italian means you understand.
Yeah.
So
Capiche?
so
Yeah.
so so they, some of them, the Latinos could say my last name, but the blacks couldn't. So they would say, "Hey, Captain Gabish." So they would
Yeah.
see me in the hallway and they go, "Hey, Captain Gabish." So
Yeah.
when the jail commission on violence went through with the 5 federal judges and Jim
Wow. Yeah.
McDonald and Mary
Yeah.
Korinsky and everybody, we're walking the hallway with all these dignitaries, right? And the inmates are going, "Hey, Captain Gabish, can I talk to you?" I go, "Hey, I'm with a tour right now. I'll get back to you." But they couldn't believe
Yeah.
that I had that certain rapport.
Rapport.
So one of the
Yeah.
things I always preached about leadership too is if you develop a relationship plus trust
That's right.
equates to effectiveness.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Relationships, I think, is definitely number one. All right, let's see what we can do here. We were going to talk about. You got a few minutes? How about marijuana? You were talking about the legalization. About that.
Yeah,
What's going on with that?
let me talk about that. I don't know how much time you got, but
I got
first
time.
of all,
I'm long form now, so we can do what we want.
first of all, Cliff, I recommend the audience to get the new National Geographic magazine, it says cannabis on top.
Okay.
Okay. It's an outstanding, very fair, covers the positives and the negatives of marijuana cannabis. Okay.
Okay.
And it gives you the history of cannabis. Okay. And the cannabinoids, right? And
Yeah.
there's numerous different cannabinoids. Okay. So, so let me share this with you. So when I got into Captain Narcotics, a great guy who's now the captain of narcotics, was a detective of mine, Glenn Walsh.
Didn't know him. Yeah.
Great Marine, smart as hell, right? Glenn and I and Mark Montoya, who's a great guy too, great investigator. We went to UCLA, we went to USC to talk to psychiatrists about marijuana in 2009.
Wow.
This is in preparation. I think it was Prop 19 was the first, a strike to go after legalization of marijuana. So all these psychiatrists said, listen, there's definitively, yes, a positive about people with cancer, children with epilepsy.
Epilepsy. Yeah.
I'm all for it. I'm all
Yeah.
for it. But I'm going to condense it down. The negative is this, and I got a niece and a nephew who have issues with this, and they still have trouble with drugs. If young people have some mental health issues, or if they don't, and young people smoke marijuana heavily, as they described to psychiatrists, it opens doors in the brain, and sometimes those doors never close.
Mm.
So this is where you psychotic episodes, schizophrenic episodes that sometimes they don't come out of,
Yeah.
or if they're predisposed with mental health later, the onset's even sooner, Cliff.
Yeah. That
So
makes sense. Yeah.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. And the magazine speaks directly to what I just told you. Okay,
Yeah.
I highly recommend you and your audience buy it. Okay, but I got to tell you, the other thing is this: they perfected the female end of the plant, which has all the THC, tetrahydrocannabinol.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
THC.
So, so when you and I were growing up, marijuana maybe had like 3% THC.
Yep.
With the evolution of these plants, indoor grows, and even in the Los Angeles National Forest, they grow. Because when I was a captain in narcotics, we did a marijuana eradication up in the forest. They know how with the fertilizer and the irrigation how to grow it more stronger. On top of that, the vaping enhances the THC to 90%.
What?
So,
Wait,
so
from 3% to 90%?
I'm telling you, Cliff, read the magazine. I'm not bullshitting. This is the frightening part where it's like, I remember when I was a youngster, right? Teenage, 15, 16. I see an older person.
Yeah.
I say, hey man, I'll give you an extra buck. Can you buy me a bottle of Boone's Farm apple wine, right?
Yeah.
All right. What do you think these kids are doing at dispensaries with people that have, legally going into buying, marijuana there? They're giving them money and they're buying it. And these kids are getting high end quality. Now on top of it, if they get the honey oil or the butter and they put it in a vaping device that looks like a pen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You're not going to smell the marijuana smell, but that increases to 90%.
Oh, and you don't smell it?
No.
Oh my God.
That's why you see a lot of people walking the streets.
Yeah, I know. I see him all the time doing that. So that could be marijuana in there.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
So Cliff, listen, um, there's good uses for the youth of our country. I think it's weakness, and I said this back on the news. I did for Baca I did in front of the Sherman Block building when I was a captain of narcotics. I had all the stuff laid out there. I did a stand up, and all the channels were there to speak against legalizing Prop 19 at the time.
Yeah.
The politicians want the money. Let me tell you, I was a captain of narcotics bureau. The money's not coming in, Cliff.
Yeah.
It's not coming in because the black market is stealing, and everybody that's having these dispensaries legalized or not, the black market, they're hiding all the cash.
Ah, they're not going to report that. Oh my
No,
God. Yeah. Jeez.
No, and on top of that, I'll go back to fentanyl. They
Yeah,
put fentanyl in marijuana, heroin, methamphetamine, cocaine, Viagra. I mean, the LA Times and UCLA professors went down to Mexico and they bought pills from legalized pharmacies, pharmacias, right? They
yeah.
tested these pills. 7 out of 10 pills, Cliff, came back with lethal doses of fentanyl in them. Even Viagra. So if a young man's going down and think he's going to get his, you know what,
He dies.
he could die. And it's
What?
happening.
How many people are dying a day from the fentanyl overdoses?
You know, it's interesting you say that. So Ann Milgram, the DA director, said on the average day, we're losing 22 high school students a day.
Oh my God.
There's an average, they say, and it varies. Derek Maltz says one thing, I say one thing. Derek Maltz, I go with Derek Maltz, he's a great guy. He says we lose over 300 people a day.
That's what I heard. So if you got, you know, China's bringing this in, so basically military age men, they're killing 100,000 plus a year without firing a shot. Why would they ever? They don't need to bring any military over here.
Exactly.
People
Exactly. And,
don't even know we're in a war.
and here I am circling back. You mentioned war. Exactly. I'm circling back to what I said in the beginning about an hour ago. We need to implement the Foreign Terrorist Act.
Yeah.
And Derek Maltz, myself, a lot of other people that have worked the DA, FBI, who retired. Even my friend who I worked on. I don't know if you know, we worked Jerry Ortiz case. I was a lieutenant at the time.
Yes.
I
Oh
led, I
man, I
led,
didn't know it. Yeah.
I led that whole with my team. I had great team members from all the alphabet agencies, the sheriffs, OSS detectives, Brand House, Gary Sloan, Mark Brooks, Anthony Rivera, great people. I mean, let me tell you something. They even said we have to save our youth
Yeah,
in,
that's right.
in the United States, and it's the only way we're going to be able to do it if we show strength. We're a very unemotional approach,
Yes, unemotional.
tactically approach economically, tactically on the border, in resources of whatever military intelligence officers. We have to put all our resources to it, Cliff.
Yeah, I agree. We have to be, my dad was a Marine too, so you can imagine how we grew up. It's just, man, we can't be, I don't know, this tolerance of this kind of behavior. Sometimes it seems like, wait, what is going on here? That shouldn't even be allowed. But I hope there's going to be a change coming. And so now let's get wrap up here. Would you come back on with me again? I could talk to you for a couple hours.
Hey, I'll come back anytime you want. Just tell me what you think you want me to talk about.
Yeah, I'm
Hey, and
always.
Cliff, I'm not a bullshit artist.
I know. Yeah, I love that about you. Yeah, uh, yeah. I'm going in 10. My problem is I go in 20 different directions. I go, man, I should be in this fight. Wait a minute, I should be standing up for this. We got a voice. I'm in the positivity and motivation. Oh, wait, I should be standing up for my fellow cops. So sometimes I wonder maybe I should just start another channel or I don't know.
Well,
I don't.
doing an assessment, and
Yeah, I
and
like
pick
that. Do an assessment. I like.
do an assessment and pick one thing in one direction. And one of the things I used to tell my team members all the time is, stay on a target,
Yeah,
stay on a focus what we want to accomplish.
yeah.
And when we do that, we can always branch off.
Gotcha. Yeah, we can. But for the present moment, we stay in this target for a significant amount of time, and then if it turns into somewhere, it's like going sailing, right? We got a port we're going to. Maybe somewhere along the way, we decide to stop somewhere else. But for right now, full speed ahead. I like it.
Hey, but Cliff, in closing, both of us,
Yeah,
the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department made me a better man.
me too.
Make
Yeah,
the journey sometimes wasn't like this. It was, up and down. But I gotta tell you, in the totality, it gave me experiences. I mean, look, where's a guy get a chance to go to work in Central America, Mexico? I mean,
I know it.
I worked in Scotland Yard, and I mean,
Gosh,
where does I mean, I'm blessed.
have you written your memoir yet? I wrote one, so
You
you
know,
got to write one. I'm going to help you. I'll tell you. You got to.
maybe you can because I am my wife says you are I wrote 3 legal pads of my story.
Yeah, you got to do it.
And I've been on a hiatus because I've been doing a lot of the presentations of fentanyl, and
Yeah,
it means a
thank you
lot
for
to me.
that. Yeah,
It really
yeah,
means a lot to me, Cliff, because I think personally, my niece and nephew, it affects me. So I want to, I want to give back. I want to help save lives. It makes me a little emotional
What do you
because
do? Do you educate them on the dangers of it, or how to
I
stay away?
do. I
Yeah,
do. I mean, I don't know if you saw my son and his business partner. I put it on LinkedIn. Did you see that
yeah,
video?
yeah. I love. Oh my God, that's
Yeah.
great.
And so I speak. I have a PowerPoint. I talk about issues.
Yeah,
I talk about mental health. I talk about how young people need to believe in themselves,
yeah.
and go to help, to a teacher, a pastor, a father, a brother, or somebody, but please don't step on that landmine.
Don't do it. All right, listen, you got to come back on because we got a lot to talk about. We got to, on my thing, and you're doing it to have a positive impact on other people. Actually, there's no greater joy. Once in a while, someone sends me a message. What you said or what you did when I worked for you, changed my life. I'm good for about a year after that. I only need one person to tell me that, and it's like, okay, everything's worth it.
Well,
So,
I want to thank you so much for your time and
oh,
your and
thank you,
your your,
brother.
your
Thank you.
platform, because I love law enforcement. I
Yeah, me
love
too,
I
man.
love it. Hey, are we perfect? No, but we recruit from the human race.
Exactly. That's my message is listen, cops are not another group of people. They are mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, brothers, and sisters. And so they are us. We are them, right? So there's no separation.
Hey, Cliff,
All right,
thanks a
brother.
lot, brother.
All right, brother. I'll let you know this should come out in a Thursday. But, anyways, Ralph Ornelas, I love you, brother. Bye.
Me too.
All
Thanks,
right.
Cliff.